Hello. Um,
Hi, Sharon.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay, good. I hope everyone's well and yes, had a great night. So I think it's afternoon for some people where they are. Um, so yes, I would like to go ahead and start um morning's session. Um, Before I go ahead and start, I would just like to honestly say um I'm so grateful for these sessions. Um, I don't know how everyone obviously is finding them, but for the time I've been here, um, after we do have these sessions, I do like to reflect and see how I can apply it. And I have to say, I think it's commendable. Like yesterday, obviously our colleague Sukesh spoke about teamwork, and honestly, yesterday, um, we had a moment that then required for us to exercise that same, that same skill set. So I really do appreciate these sessions, and I'm grateful for everyone who takes part and contributes. So today's topic that I've chosen is the pitfalls of cheating yourself. So what I mean by that is obviously to me cheating means cutting corners. Um, in other words, that's the way I'm translating it, or that's where I would like you to translate it for this session. So when it comes to cheating yourself, I feel like you don't demand excellent, like you don't have an excellent attitude about yourself, so you don't demand excellency from yourself in everything that you do. So say for example, or this is something I'm obviously I'm training my kids to do, but I always tell them, if you don't want to do something and you're not going to give it your very best, then there's no point, because to me already you're just cheating yourself. Because as much as you want to just feel like, okay, just tick it off, okay, I've done it, I've fulfilled it, but if you haven't given it your very best, even the result you're going to get from it won't be your very best. So in other words, sometimes I tell my kids to do something, but because they just want to quickly rush and do it, um then after that I'm like, but you still got to come back and do it, because you didn't do it to your best ability. So various examples that I can use when it comes to cheating yourself, especially in terms of how it affects you personally. And when it affects you personally, then this translates into all your other aspects of life: business, work life, family life. So in this aspect of in under this umbrella that I'm using of cutting corners. So say for example, you're meant to sleep at a certain time so that you can wake up, at the time your alarm says you should be waking up. But unfortunately, maybe you don't do as you're meant to. And then you try to think that, because you've not slept at that specific time, your body will wake up at that time. At that point in time, you already cheated yourself, because you had committed to mentally do something, but then you haven't done it. So in most cases, you might not even be able to wake up on time and be the best you can be. Another example I can use about cutting corners is in terms of work. Sorry, I'm using my kids a lot in terms of example for this, but obviously when you're school age, I do obviously I'm always encouraging my kids, even myself, if you're learning, make sure you give your very best. I don't care if you're only going to learn for 30 minutes, but if it's just 30 minutes, let those 30 minutes be your best. Because if you just sit down for like 4 hours and you pretend to be reading, but then that reading doesn't really bring any fruition of your input, then there's no point. So I always do tell my kids, everything you do, demand to be excellent. if it's just your daily chores, cleaning, just going about your daily routine, the way you conduct yourself around other people, you have to demand excellence from yourself. So if you're not doing that, especially the way we humans are, because we are called to be in that, we have a higher calling on our lives. So definitely everyone, when they do tap into that excellent side of themselves, definitely even their energy, their aura changes in terms of how they view themselves, how they see themselves, how they conduct themselves around others. So one thing I always tell my kids is, obviously we're royalty, so you have to treat yourself and carry yourself like royalty. So in other words, we always see on movies how they portray, kings and queens and princesses to behave. So in other words, if you're not behaving maybe up to that standard, or if you like to try and cut corners instead of doing something the right way, you want to try and bypass the legal way or look for loopholes, that definitely, as much as those loopholes might exist, but those loopholes do actually have consequences in case you do use them to then get to the end result of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, basically. So I don't know if anyone agrees to what I'm saying, but I'm sure you do. And I would really like to hear what you think on this topic, in terms of, have you ever felt that you've cheated yourself in a certain way, and what were the consequences, and did you learn anything from it that you'd like to share for us to also take into consideration as we go through the day? Yes, I think that would be great. Sorry, I'm drinking. So no one wants to say anything? Or everyone's still in reflection mode about the pitfalls of cutting corners in terms of personal development, career development. Yeah, from any angle you want to take it, and give us your kind of your own experience or a contribution. Yes, that would be great. I think another example I could use is even, for example, just work here. Say, for example, maybe you're doing stage 1, and this requires you do background information before you do any kind of posting, reconciliation. If you haven't done background information, then definitely it's going to reflect when it comes to the posting and how you're classifying those expenses or income that's coming through the client's account. So if you've just, for example, rushed the process of background information, you're like, oh, quickly, I just want to try and see what I could get so that I can, quickly start and move on to the next stage of this exercise, to start posting and using Zero. Unfortunately, as much as every other person around you might not know that that's what you're intending to do or that's what you're doing, but unfortunately, when someone is reviewing your work, or when those accounts are being finalized, I'm very sure someone will pick up on the errors that you might have done, because you might have classified things in a way they shouldn't have been classified, because you didn't really get to understand how that business generates income. So you didn't really understand how to classify that income accordingly, or you didn't understand the different expenses that businesses incurs to generate that income they're doing. So when you're seeing certain expenses, the ones you don't understand, you don't know how to classify them. So you just play I don't know, guess, and then you just classify it anyhow. But that really, that the sole reason why that could be the case is because when you are at the very beginning of the exercise, which was step one, for you to do your background information, get as much information as you can, ask as many questions as you can about the client you're dealing with, for you to then have a full understanding of the client's business. So now when it comes to posting, or doing reconciliation, from there producing accounts, it becomes a problem. So I think that's one of the other ways I can maybe give insight into what I mean about us, the pitfalls of us cutting corners. So maybe another thing is cooking. Okay, I'll talk about cooking. So say for example, cooking, you're meant to be, I don't know. Well, I'm assuming we all cook basically, but same thing if you're trying to cook a good meal. Say for example, you're cooking rice. Easiest thing. If you cook rice on very high heat, maybe for whatever reason, I don't know, definitely the rice will not have the same aroma and won't have the same kind of rice grain, what's the word? Yeah, rice grain, not consistency, but yes, it won't look as nice and taste as good because obviously you didn't go through the whole process of maybe boiling the rice, washing the rice to clean the starch off before you then cooked it. So if you just want to rush the process and maybe skip a few of those steps before you then start cooking it, definitely by the time you finish cooking it and that you're tasting it, I'm sure if you've cooked rice properly before, you will feel the difference in the taste and in how it even just looks basically. So I don't know what other example I could use that can maybe help so that people start contributing. Ritika, you want to say something?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I think Robert was gonna say. You can go ahead, Robert.
No, I know Honorable Robert is gonna say ladies first, so
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Sharon, for this topic. This is such a quite, yeah, this is what I feel like the pitfalls of cheating yourself. Like I think we all are guilty of like sometimes cheating with ourselves. Just go by the day and just know like, oh, we can just deal with it later, or we can like someone else can see it. Like you give example of the cooking, I think. Yeah, like sometimes when I'm in a hurry or like I don't want to cook, spend more time in the cooking, I would just like cook on the high heat and just like whatever is coming in my way, I will just try to finish it up. Like I'm not focusing on like it might be damaging the nutritions of my like ingredients or some. I'm just like I just want to get it done by anything. So like but in truth is like I'm cheating myself there. Like I'm destroying the nutritions. Like I'm destroying like I'm also like destroying or misusing the resources like extra water, extra gas or electricity, whatever I'm using. So that's kind of like in the short term we might be like cheating ourselves, but like as you said, like the end result won't be great of that. Like you won't be get to taste like a really good meal or a nutritious meal. You will be just like, oh, the I can just get bare by it, but it doesn't taste that good. It should be. So I think that kind of cheating, or I think in the like in the professional life, if we go by like whatever work has been assigned to us, like if we try to just know like we are in like a hurry, we just think like, oh, I just can like no just I will do the bare minimum and someone else can like look over it, or someone else can look at it. So we might be thinking we like we might be saving time, or like no, we can do other things we are more fond of, like we can do other things. But in reality, we are like cheating ourselves, because we have like we humans have a tendency, like if we are like we adopt a kind of a nature, like we are like no trying to do things like just to do the bare minimum and doesn't give more attention or like more attention to that thing. We will do the same thing in the other areas of our life, like whether it be in our relationship, whether it be on like exercise routine or healthy routine or anything else. Like with other people also at the workplace. We would be doing those of kind things. So like if we start by like we might be thinking, oh, I'm just doing this at like only one thing, like okay, I can take care of other things, but we won't even realize like how these small things are gonna get like big in the future, and how it's gonna like come and backfire us in the future. Like if you continue to these kind of things and try to cheat yourself like daily basis, you won't even realize it. You might think like, oh, this is just a small thing, I can just do better in other areas, but you won't realize it. But you have adopted that habit of cheating yourself daily basis, and in the long term you will realize, oh, like I am now procrastinating. I'm not my skills like whatever it is at the workplace, or like just you mentioned, like my cooking skills are getting bad. I'm not eating a good food, I don't have a healthy routine, and you will be wondering like, oh, where did it go wrong?
Mm.
But if you go or you if you self-analyze yourself, you will realize that like these like the bigger things that I am like in a mess right now, it's because of those habits I had created for myself. Like I cheated myself in those small habits, and those small habits like turn into this big mess, and now I'm like be in a mess in everywhere in my life, whether it's my relationship, whether I'm at a workplace, or whether it's being with myself or my self routine or anything else. So I think, yeah, those are the pitfalls of cheating yourself. So before we even realize like we are like doing, if we realize like I'm doing, or like I'm kind of not giving my 100%, or like I'm not being true to myself in any kind of work I'm doing, we should be like get alert at that moment only. Like if I let it continue for the long term, I won't be like, I would be in a big mess. So I should like correct it when this is just a small time, or this is just one time. So if we like try to being alert, or like try to avoid those things, I think we can save ourselves from cheating ourselves and get into a bigger mess in the future. And
Yeah.
that's my contribution. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ritika. I think, yeah, I think you really hit the nail there for me as well. For you to actually get to this state of, you know, cheating yourself, the only way you can really know that you're cheating yourself is when you're in a state of mindfulness, because you have to self-analyze why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you at the place that you're at? Because obviously, like we all know, you can only be where you are today because of a decision you took prior to where you are. So we're only here today because we made the mental decision to look after ourselves yesterday, sleep on time, wake up on time. So if you didn't, then you won't be here. But obviously, God, we don't know. God, knows everything. But in that aspect, yeah, if you really do want to, get to really understand yourself in terms of how you're cheating yourself, you can only do that when you practice, when you're in a state of mindfulness, because then you self-analyze and critique yourself. It's the same way like now, you cheat yourself when you don't get out of bed on time, but you're meant to get to somewhere. So definitely then you're going to be rushing, then you're going to be, it's going to be, oh, go, go, go. At that point in time, like you just mentioned, you might not rationalize it, but that's exactly what's happened. Because definitely you should have known, I should have woken up on time, because if I wake up on time, I'm going to make sure I do my routine, meditate, get myself ready, smell like $1 million, look beautiful, go face the world and do whatever it is that I have to do. But just from the morning routine, if you don't do that properly, and halfway through the day you don't clock it and you don't really understand and adjust, that's exactly how your day is going to go, basically. So I do appreciate that insight, Ritika. Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the topic, Sharon, and Ritika's contribution. There's so much for me to learn there. Now, pitfalls and shortcuts lead to quite a number of things, which I'm going to mention here. I'm just going to mention a few. But like Sharon was saying, what she tells her children, we also hear during the pandemic, I'm sorry for those of you who don't go to church, but I do go to church every Sunday. And during the pandemic, we are not attending church. And we set it as a rule in the house that we'll have to be attending church on TV. And when we go to church, we always try to dress decently because we are going before our God. Here in the UK, when people go to Buckingham Palace, if you have an opportunity to go to the king or to the queen, everybody dresses down. And this is the king or the queen of the United Kingdom. But what about our God? Yeah. If we are going to God, if you are going to church, then we should even dress better. But everybody has an opinion of that and they do the way they do. So it was a rule here that even though we are going to attend mass on TV, we must dress up. Nobody coming here in pajamas or things like that. But where does that come from? It comes from like where I come from. That's what my dad taught me. That's how we behaved. Because once children start wearing the way they want, I normally give them an example of the news readers on TV or the prime minister or the ministers or people who are working in big places. They don't dress anyhow. They dress really, really smartly. And that's the image they portray. And before they even say anything, you've already respected them because of their appearance. So I look at that sort of quality whereby you are not cutting corners. Say, oh, no, it's okay. After all, this and that. No, 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 no. So here for us, when we cut corners, what will happen is we are compromising the quality of our work because you are rushing something. You are not going to do it properly. So do it the right way because there is a right way, which has been taught us. When you see like stage one, first do stage one, record properly, reconcile, analyze. It's really, really, really important because that's the process. Otherwise, if you say, no, but this is okay, I can just input, I can just post. The end result, the report won't be the quality you want. So that is going to lead to increased errors. And when there are increased errors, then it has to come back to somebody else to look at the errors which you've committed, and then time is going to be wasted. So it's really a challenge there. I mean, always take your time, do something properly. After some time, you get really used to it and you can do it faster. But especially in the beginning, we shouldn't cut corners. And in other places, when you go like to maybe to a warehouse or the airport, catered areas marked for safety reasons. Don't pass here. Okay, people going that side. This is the markings are on the floor, that sort of thing, because of the reason. But for some reason, you are going to see other people rushing and maybe pushing trolleys and maybe because they're late, they didn't sleep on time or they did wake up on time, like Sharon was saying. Again, it's a lot of planning. If you plan your way, you're going to be fine. If you follow instructions, most of the time you are going to be okay. Otherwise, you are going to start cutting corners and end up maybe hitting an old person. Because if they demarcate an area that don't go this side, maybe there's a forklift, like in a warehouse, or maybe that's for old people. And then you are rushing, an old person is walking with a stick, you're going to end up hitting them. So the same thing with our accounting here. If you don't follow the processes, you're going to hit an old person if you're not careful in any way. I don't know. But somehow it's the processes, it's the procedures which have been set up. After some time, when you gain lots of experience, then you can rush through the processes. But before then, don't try to cut corners. Then the other thing which might happen is loss of trust because you are working for clients. If you just send an email, I'm sure it has happened to you. I don't know, maybe it hasn't, but me, it has happened. I'm rushing and sending an email, and then I realize after I've sent it that there's a mistake, maybe there's a typo, there's some grammatical error, that sort of thing. Again, it's really important. Don't cut corners. Take your time. Draft your email, read through it before you send it, even 2 times. Sometimes I write an email and I leave it and then I make a cup of coffee and then come back and read it again just to make sure because of my reputation, because of the reputation of the organization I'm working for, because of my profession. Yeah, it's really, really important. But when we rush things, again, we are going to make mistakes, big mistakes, which might cost us. And then there could be legal implications as well because of our carelessness, because of cutting corners, because of rushing. We don't want to be fined. Sometimes I'm driving, a few times I've got fines, not fines. Yeah, I've got penalties, they're called. Maybe I'm caught up in traffic and I'm trying to cut corners, rushing, driving, and then somewhere maybe 40 miles per hour, then I'm clocking 60. And then a camera all of a sudden, again, it's because of cutting corners. If you are late, you are late. but do something which is right. Again, reputation is going to be messed up in a way because you are late, but somehow try to limit it. So some of the things which we need to do is to set standards in our workplaces. Set standards, have that quality. What are you supposed to do at what particular time? And what sort of standard do you want? Okay, if you are not sure, send it to somebody else to read through or to guide you before you send it out, if it's meant to be sent out. Then ensure you do have enough tools, enough resources to use, or you have enough understanding of what you are doing. Again, people are here to help us to do whatever we need to do. So we do not compromise the standards, the quality of our work and the reputation, our integrity, all that. We don't want to miss that. Trainings, let's attend trainings. There are lots of simple trainings, small trainings, maybe on YouTube or from here, the Moracle Standard, that sort of thing. We do have all the tools which we can use. Let's try and learn them. We are going to be cutting corners. We feel, oh, I think I'm late. I've been to the side. Let me rush. Let me send it to Sharon. Maybe see the mistake, that sort of thing. She's going to find out, or somebody else is going to find out. And then we are going to be messed up. Then the last one for me is that lead by example. When you do something correctly, other people are going to look at it and say, okay, this is how Rita does things, and she does it in a professional manner, in a streamlined kind of process. I think that is so helpful, not only at a place of work, but in our families, with our friends, in our other communities. When you lead in a manner which is streamlined, where cutting corners is avoided, I think you are setting a wonderful precedent, a wonderful example. Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, thank you definitely for the wonderful contribution. You've mentioned quite a few points there, and I think it's given, you've used very good examples, definitely. I really like the example about obviously when there's specific instructions and you're not meant to, for example, like you said, they've demarcated somewhere, like I said, for health and safety reasons, there's reason why they put there, but like I said, in case you're coming rushing, you don't even know what's going on, you just want to go through, you might go through and the forklift hits you, but because you didn't want to follow the instructions, maybe might have required you to walk around longer, but you're just like, okay, so that could be the consequence. So I really like the examples you used, and I think the other aspect that maybe I felt was really insightful was the legal precautions that come from you cheating yourself. I definitely do think that when you do have, like I said, when you do set standards for yourself, then definitely you mentally make that commitment to yourself that you don't want to do less than what you've committed to doing. So my mantra is here in the house is, to me, you always have to strive to be better today than you was yesterday. If you're not better today than you was yesterday, then unfortunately to me, I always tell my kids, you're not living your life. You're just day in, day out, going through life, and if it's the same, you don't feel anything changing, or you're not getting better at something, or then unfortunately to me, you're not living your life. You're not really enjoying what life has to offer you. But to me, I feel like that comes from the standards you've set for yourself, the way you see yourself, what do you expect from yourself. So if you demand to be excellent and you demand not to cut corners from within yourself, because to me, if you allow yourself to be someone who can cheat yourself, then it will trickle down into what you do in the workplace. You feel it's comfortable, you think it's okay to cheat your friends, or that's exactly, if you can't do it to yourself, if you are someone who doesn't like to cut corners with yourself as a person, then definitely it will trickle down in terms of the way you treat others, the way you work, the way you carry yourself, like Robert's mentioned. So it definitely has to start with yourself. If you definitely have that standard with yourself, I'm very sure you won't want to be less than the person that you want to be putting out there. So that's also another thing, like Robert's mentioned, about making sure that the work you do put out there is a true presentation of what you can really deliver. Because if what you're putting out there, you yourself can see, no, I can do better, then already there in the aspect, you're cheating yourself, because if you know you can do better, but you're not really giving your best, then unfortunately it's only you that can really analyze and understand that. No teacher, no one can come and mark you up and tell you, yeah, no. You yourself. And I think that's the great thing as about humans. I don't know if it happens to you, but whenever you're always about to do something, it's a little voice inside of you says, but you know what you're about to do is wrong. Always. I don't know how. And I've always taught my kids, because kids, they're so young. The first time my child lied to me, I said, but you're still very young, but how did you? And I'm like, but obviously, I'm in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, it's like naturally we're built to actually have that self-mindfulness, you critique yourself, you question why you're doing what you're doing. But when you drown out that voice, that inner, it becomes dangerous. So no, thank you so much for that interpretation and contribution, Robert. I think if someone else wants to say something quickly, or it would be great, but I do know we've run over time. But yes, thank you, Robert. Kelvin, yes. Thank you, Mr. Kelvin.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thanks for those great insights regarding today's topic. It's a very interesting one. Thank you, Professor Robert, for that. Thank you, Professor Rikita, on that. Now, I'm looking at this, and I'm relating to the real life situation and it's happening everywhere. And there's something I was relating this to, especially also when Robert was talking, was giving his insights there. Now, there's something about integrity. And, we say integrity is doing that right thing when no one even is seeing you.
Yeah.
And sometimes what leads us to cut the shortcuts, cut the corners and take the shortcuts, at that moment, at that point where, you're doing something and, you owe no person an explanation about it. It's all about you, that thought. You owe no man responsibility, no man gonna question about you, like what Rikita was talking about, cooking food. At the end of the day, nobody's going to question you outside there. Hey, why did you cook such and food? Maybe do all those things. So that's where we tend to fail, that I owe no person an explanation about this. And then we forget about the aspect of being self-responsible. So we tend to, exchange that moment for short-term gains, and then we forget the long-term repercussion or the outcomes later on. We tend to want things happen quickly. We don't want to really soil our hands in doing the current things and then, look at the long-term. Often, they say that thing that is done easily or easy come, easy go. But, that thing that is hard earned, that moment you put all your efforts there, your energy, you stand on, you follow the principles. You hear some people say, I'm principled. There are things that you tend to follow. But the moment you break the rules, even in anything, any production, the moment you just break one rule, then the end product is going to be something that is gonna, it would deform you in the future. And that's what you hear sometimes people say, the current troubles or the current things that I'm going through are because of the decisions that I made earlier on. And, it would bring that that regret later on. So because of time, I just want to briefly and say summarily that let's uphold that integrity aspect, and let's uphold that self-responsibility. And let me say, I like Robert. Robert says he goes to church. So sometimes you would say no one is seeing, but there's one that there's that supernatural or more than supernatural being upstairs there. He watches over us and he says that he never slumbers, he never sleeps. So let's be responsible, and let's not exchange these short-term things for just short-term gains. But let's have a vision. Thank you so much, Sharon, and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone's contribution. Honestly, yes, you have wrapped up you've wrapped up the topic for us today, and I really appreciate, obviously, like you said, in terms of integrity, again, it just goes back to you demanding, excellence from yourself. But I think the only also other, just to finalize that, in terms of, like you said, integrity, putting in the work. For example, my kids love football here, and we always talk about Messi. And I told my kids, we see Messi because he's great at football, but you can imagine the level of discipline, the standard. He doesn't cheat himself. Like, he puts in those hours. They train, they have a strict routine, but I'm sure he goes beyond that. Like, when he's even alone, away from his other teammates, I'm sure he puts in more work. He's very disciplined. He demands that from himself. Hence, we're able to, put him in or refer to him as one of the best football players. Same with like people like Michael Jordan, that you can imagine the endless hours of training, discipline they put into doing those hoops day in, day out, repeatedly, at the very, very honest hours, sacrifice relationships, etc., because they've demanded that. They don't want to do anything less than what they know they're capable of. And I also honestly do think, obviously, I do think God lives in every one of us. Like, I don't think he's sitting up there waiting, but where he's living, breathing, like you said, within us. Even when we're sleeping, resting, he's still working, doing all the cleaning out, refreshing, repairing. So yeah, most definitely, he's always seeing every so I really like that that rounding up for our topic, Kelvin. So thank you everyone for today. And yes, I think Linda's going to take over. If anyone has any wins, anyone want to say what they're grateful for today? Obviously, I'm grateful that I'm here already. I already said that right at the beginning. So yeah, that would be great.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Sapide. Oh yes, Sapide is taking over. Yes.